Welcome. It's your man Got a Dots back with another episode of the Audible. Ah, how you doing, Miss Murph? Oh, happy days, oh, happy days. When eagles cry, when eagles cry. Yes, we're going to break down all the latest and greatest from the world of the NFL, breaking down all the games. And it's only right. It is only right that we start with the game of the week that was not the game of the week. How you doing, Keep? Oh, yes, I got a little time tonight. Show might run a little long. I'm sorry. Cowboys, Eagles. Let's talk about it. Let's break it down. I'm gonna try to not to sound too much like a fan. I'm gonna try to keep it impartial as possible. But it was a rather glorious Sunday. Just Oh, beat down by the Cowboys. Nothing to break down. The Eagles suck. We're gonna talk about it though. I ain't gonna let you off the hook with that. But yes, the Cowboys at home took care of business, washed the floor with the Eagles, and I'm gonna talk about the Eagles. Then we're gonna be really heavily focused on the boys. Yes, the Eagles. I've been saying it all season. Despite their record. I mean, they still have a very impressive record. Like I said, I'm gonna try not to sound too much like a fan tonight, but despite their record, they have impressive records. It's still one of the best records in the NFL. So can't take that away from the Eagles. But I've been saying it all season long. Something just don't seem right with the Eagles. Something don't seem right with the Eagles, and it is shown its ugly head in the most embarrassing of ways over the past 2 weeks. Last week, 49ers punched them in the mouth. Cowboys this week punched them in the mouth. Eagles defense, I got some questions. About that Eagles defense. I don't know what it is. It just seems like this defense is breaking down on all levels. I'm talking about from the front four to the linebacking core and into that secondary that is getting cooked on a routine basis. This defense is, and be honest with you, how you doing, toy lady? I'm trying not to sound too much like a fan, but I'm gonna be, get into my analyst bag a little bit. The Eagles defense has been below standard. When you compare them to what they was doing last year, when you compare them to how they played last year during their run to the Super Bowl, this defense is taking a major step back. Part of it has to do with injury. So, like I said, I'm not going to be too much like of a fan. And don't worry, Cowboys fans, I'm going to show a lot of love to them boys. But the Eagles seem very disjointed on defense and offense. I've been saying when you do not, Philadelphia is at their best when they're able to put out a competent run game out there, and you didn't see that on Sunday. You didn't see it the week before. You damn sure didn't see it this past Sunday. The boys got after them, blitz packages, zero blitzes coming left and right. Jalen Hurts has looked like a shell of himself when you compare him to what he the level of play he was playing at last year. Last year this time, Jalen Hurts was neck and neck with Patrick Mahomes for the MVP. And I know some people are out there, in the Twitter spaces and social media, still trying to make an argument that Jalen Hurts is still, for a lack of better terms, having a MVP caliber season. Not when you look at the product on the field, it just ain't adding up. Philadelphia, still one of my tier one teams in the NFC. Like I said, I can't take that away from with the Dallas Cowboys with the way they played this past Sunday has leapfrogged Philadelphia when we're talking about hierarchy in the NFC right now. Like I said, I'm a fan, but I got to be an analyst. Right now, San Francisco is looking like the best team in the NFC. San Francisco really looking like the best team in the NFL. And if San Francisco's a 10, I gotta put my boys right there at about a 9.5. Eagles at a 9. Eagles got exposed, and they're gonna continue to get exposed. And it's not really a thing that you can kind of clean up at this point of the season. When I was making these claims early in the season, some Eagles fans, and I'm not going to point at you, Ms. Murphy, because I know you're an honest fan, if nothing else. But a lot of Eagles fans that I was chirping back and forth with, we won, but you can't sustain winning like that. You being down double digits in second halves of games and banking on a comeback, that is not a recipe for success. You're supposed to beat the teams you're supposed to beat. You're supposed to play to the level of your talent. And the Eagles have been getting by, and it was going to catch up with them. It was going to catch up. Miss Mariah, they're about a 7. I mean, you give them a 7. I say the third. I still got them as a 9 because, outside of, the Cowboys and 49ers, I think the Eagles can beat a Detroit team, and we'll talk about Detroit. Ooh, ugly loss to the Bears. But let's focus in on the boys. I'm happy that we won. I'm happy in the fashion in which we won. We won with defense, offense, made plays when they had to. Dak looked a little bit off, especially in the first half. We left some plays out there on the field, but overall, committed to the run. Pollard had a decent game. Dotto had a decent game, and this run and smack Philadelphia in the mouth. And 49ers, they put the formula out there. But it's one thing to have the formula and have the talent. And Dallas just showed, the world on Sunday that, hey, we're here to compete. We're going to be in the conversation when we're talking about playoffs and all that kind of stuff. I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna go on record in saying this: if Dallas is able to get the number 1 seed, we going to the Super Bowl. I'm just something about Dallas at home this season has been something to see. It hasn't really been close, hasn't really been competitive. Dallas just looks like they're locked in, they're focusing. And Dak, if he's not at the top of the MVP conversation, but the only person I can really make an argument for it at this point is maybe Lamar Jackson, maybe Brock Purdy. But Dak is playing leaps and bounds over any. This is the best I've seen Dak in all his years as Cowboys starting quarterback. This is the best I've seen him, and it's not necessarily a stat thing. It's not like he's throwing up 4 or 5 touchdowns a game, 300-400 yards a game. He looks like the game is slowed down to him, and it's scary for the rest of the NFL. It's scary for the rest of the NFL when you find a quarterback that gets into a groove like that. With the skill players that he has at his disposal, Dallas is going to be a hard out. I'm not gonna lie to you. I want the 49ers. Ms. Mercer, come on. They may not get the number 1 seed, but if they do, if the road through the NFC goes through Dallas, outside of San Francisco, I don't see anybody competing with them for 4 quarters. I just don't see it. In Philadelphia is a shell of themselves. It's been a lot of smoke, a lot of mirrors, a lot of home cooking by their by their other teammates, the referees who obviously missed the team flight to Dallas, and was not there to help them out and bail them out on Sunday. It was a clinic. On the defensive side of the ball, Dallas came in with something to prove. They got kind of thrown out there, and the media was on their head by the performance they had against the Seahawks the week prior. It looked like 2 different defenses. It looked personal. When you watch how Dallas was flying to the ball, they was going after Jalen. Jalen looked scared. Jalen Hurts looked scared in the pocket. Looked scared, like he's never been blitzed like in this. Philadelphia. I've been saying it all season long. So some seems off with the offense, and the defense is not been able to kind of hold their weight. They're kind of middle of the road when you look at the stats and all that. But when you look at the play on the field, Philadelphia it ain't in them. It ain't in them this year. I don't know if it's that Super Bowl hangover, guys getting fat. and resting on their laurels, but it ain't in them. But I'm encouraged, thoroughly encouraged by what I saw from the boy. I just feel it's only right. I just feel give him another round of applause for that performance. One more time. And I want to give, since I see brother of a certain age in here, what's going on, good sir? I want to give we're going to move on because I don't want to make this. We're going to come back to them boys. We're going to come back to them boys because, I want to kind of, talk about, the state of, the playoff picture and all that. But I want to give congratulations to the New York Giants. Very big win last night. Very, very, very big win. Very good win by the New York Giants, playing against a Green Bay team that came in a little hot. They was making some noise with their plays. Jordan Love was making some noise with his play, but the Giants, the Giants, I will give credit where credit will do. They have looked sneakily good over the past 3 to 4 games with Danito. Is it Danito, whatever. The third string quarterback. His team is leaning on the run game. The offense is not explosive, but it's this team has not really got that kind of explosive talent on the offensive side of the ball. But the defense is starting to come around, and this Giants team, right now, are back into the conversation for making the playoff run. When you consider, they're 5-8, but outside of the Cowboys, Eagles, 49ers, and Lions, everybody else is under 500. Everybody else is under 500. When you look at the playoff picture out there in the NFC, and we'll talk about this later in the show, Giants are slowly playing their way back into it. I don't know if they make it, but I just want to focus on the game they had against the Packers. I was thoroughly impressed. They made Jordan Love look very uncomfortable. DeVito, thank you, Dr. Nikki. I don't keep up too heavy with I don't keep up too heavy with everybody else's third stringers, but hey, that young man is playing some good ball, and the Giants have found a formula for success with him. Keep stuff simple. Lean on Saquon. Saquon didn't have a lot of yards, but he had important yards. And this is kind of segue and take another shot at the Philadelphia Eagles. That's what it looks like when you're committed to a run game. When you commit to the run game, hey, it's not always going to be big plays and 100-yard days and all that kind of stuff by your running backs. But when you commit to the run game, it opens up, it makes life easier for the quarterback. Because teams are going to have to start committing more into the box, and it makes the reads easier. And that's what you see with the Giants. They're leaning heavy on Saquon to kind of draw in the attention, and the young man DeVito, he's making easy reads. He doesn't really have any playmakers out there on the field, but he's putting the ball into the hands of his receivers, tight ends, leaning on Saquon, and the defense is come to play. Brother of a certain age, you're talking about playing spoilers. I mean, like I said, with the rest of the NFC, outside of those 4 teams below 500, a break here or there, and we could be talking about the Giants getting into the playoffs. I'm not going to say I'm afraid of the Giants, but I respect the pedigree. This was a playoff team last year, got off to a very rough start, have kind of turned things around, have figured out a formula for success, and they're riding. I don't think anybody playing the Giants for the rest of the season is going to be looking at them as an easy dub like they was at the beginning of the season. And the question for you Giants fans is, what you gonna do with Daniel Jones? I know the New York fans ain't got no love for him. I tried to support the quarterback last year, but with the way that he's playing, and before him, Tyrod Taylor was playing okay ball at the quarterback position. What are you gonna do with Daniel Jones? I mean, that's $35 million on the cap next year. $35 million on the cap. You're not cutting them. So what do you do? But you got to ask yourself, Giants. I mean, you're in a position. Don't look at yourselves as having to play spoilers. You have an outside chance, and it's not that far outside. Yes, Ms. Murphy, the Eagles still got to play the Giants twice. Eagles still got to. I mean, Eagles. Woo, woo. I can take shots at them all night, man. I'm not gonna do it all night long. I might, but I just took this. I know a lot of you Eagles fans was looking like this on the past two Sundays. Like, what the fuck is going on? Who is this team out here on the field? This is not the Eagles that I thought they were. But your play on the field is reflective of that look right there. Reflective of that look. Get into some of the other games, other notable games. But I'm gonna break down all of them, of course. But get into some of the other notable games. Congratulations to the Baltimore Ravens. I told you guys coming into that game. I said the Rams is not a team to be trifled with. The Rams is not a team to be trifled with. Matt Stafford is looking good. He has weapons on the outside. The defense kind of comes and goes with the Rams. They had an opportunity, forced it to overtime. Unfortunately for them, lose the game on a punt return. But hey, the Rams, they're right there, and in that conversation when we're talking about NFC playoff teams, yeah, they're below 500, but most of the NFC is below 500. But I'm encouraged by what I've seen from the Rams, and I'm even more encouraged. I was kind of questioning, was Baltimore going to be ready coming off of a bye? Or they still going to be in rhythm? It took them a minute. It took them a minute to kind of get into the flow of the game. Lamar Jackson, made some mistakes, but the team was able to overcome it. The defense looked a little looked off with their timing. And they almost lost, but almost lost and actually losing is two different things. But congratulations to the Ravens for winning. The Rams, keep an eye on them. You heard it here first. Keep an eye on the Rams for the rest of this season, because in my opinion, and this is my opinion, based on how the Rams have played, especially towards the second half of this season, I got them on my tier two. Seattle just, we'll talk about Seattle. They just kind of just falling off the map, man. I don't know what's going on with the Seahawks. Granted, they were playing against the San Francisco 49ers, who went out there and took care of business. It was a game for about a half. But San Francisco, man, that is a talented team on both sides of the ball, and they have playmakers on both sides of the ball. Anybody that argues with me that San Francisco ain't the best team in the NFL right now, I'll have that argument, but it is hard. And I'm a Cowboys fan. It is hard not to look at that San Francisco team and think that, man, they're not the best team in the league. Not the best team. Brock Purdy with another decent performance out there. I think we'll talk about that a little bit later on in the week as we look forward to next week's games. But 49ers took care of business at home, beat a Seahawks team who is, they've hit a rough patch. Still have an outside chance of making the playoffs. I mean, like I said, outside of the top four teams, everybody's below 500. Everybody's within a game of each other when we're talking about playoff position. So Seahawks still have something to play for. I think they just, ran into some, bad matchups. You lost to the Cowboys, who, kind of put it on you offensively, and 49ers, who just kind of overwhelmed them with talent in the second half of that game. So we'll see what the Seahawks do going forward. I expect the 49ers, now that they have technically, based on tiebreakers and all that, have the number one seed in the NFC right now. I think they're going to fight hard to try to keep it. I don't think you're going to see them in a position to really, rest players and all of that kind of stuff of all the Philly fans. The post, yeah, Spider, what's going on? I mean, that's how they've been looking the last 2 weeks. I'm having fun on social media with these Philly fans, and they talk all kind of cash money shit. I'm talking cash money shit. And have gone out there and laid an egg and gotten smoked. I've gotten smoked the last 2 weeks. Yeah, don't worry, Miss Murphy. It's going to be Eagles shots throughout the show. Speaking of shots throughout the show, my Detroit Lions. If you've been following the show, even when I was over in the other space, you've been following the show, you guys know how high I have been on the Detroit Lions. That was my dark horse for the past 2 years. Team started out looking like a tier one team in the NFC, and they've run into some issues especially over the last month of this of the season so far. The last 4 or 5 games, Detroit has looked off. I mean, I know they won last week against New Orleans, but that was a game that shouldn't have been as close as it was. And even with this one, Chicago, when you watch the game, Chicago just looked like the better team. And that's the crazy thing about Chicago. A team also right there at 5-8 could make a push for the playoff. I said this about Chicago all year long. When you let Justin Fields kind of be Justin Fields, quit trying to force him to fit into your offense and make an offense that fits around him. Chicago is a dangerous team to be playing. Chicago is a very dangerous team to be playing. The defense made some plays for some turnovers. Detroit, like I said, Detroit just looks off. Detroit just looks off. I don't know what it is. I really can't put my finger on it. Like offensively, they're able to score points with the best of them, but they're starting to be very turnover prone, making mental mistakes on that side of the ball. And the defense has just not been getting after it. Has just not been getting after it like I thought they would, especially at this point of the season. You was in a position, you still are, outside chance of possibly getting the number 1 seed, but Detroit, luckily for them, they play in a subpar division, so I mean they got some room for error. But that was a bad loss. That was a bad loss against a Chicago team who you beat a couple of weeks ago. It took a miracle to beat them. Then, like I said, Detroit is just slipping. I can't put them on my tier 1 when we're talking about NFC teams. That I can't really put them in that category. And I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say about Detroit. I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed by how Detroit has kind of performed over the last 5 games. Very disappointed. But congratulations to the Chicago Bears. And I know you guys don't hear that a lot on this show. I know you don't hear that a lot on this show when we're talking about the Chicago Bears. But hey, I give credit where credit is due. Justin Fields didn't have a super fantastic game throwing the ball, but the threat of him running, him using his leg, making plays with his legs, that's what makes Chicago offense dangerous. Then you add it to the fact he's actually got a number 1 receiver. They're finding ways to get DJ Moore the ball. Chicago could be in the conversation. Definitely towards the end of the season, could be in the mix. They've won 2 straight. Could be in the mix of possibly getting into the playoffs. Could be in the mix of possibly getting into the playoffs. Speaking of teams getting into the playoffs, let me come back over here real quick. Give me a sec. Jaguars, what happened? I know you out there somewhere, Gator Girl. What happened to your Jaguars on Sunday? What happened? What happened? What happened? You let Joe Flacco come out there and carve you up. That Jaguars defense that I've been hearing so much about, this Jaguars team that people have been telling me, mainly Gator Girl, don't overlook them. They're a team, they one of the top teams in the AFC. And I've been hearing it all goddamn season. I've been hearing it all season. And for you to go out there and let Joe Flacco, who was just on his couch a couple weeks ago, old ass Joe Flacco, I ain't got no mobility. He looked very comfortable in the pocket and was just carving the Jaguars off. Jaguars had no answers for him. Cooper was cooking. I mean, it was a clinic. It was a clinic. And yeah, I know the score was 31-27, but the game wasn't, if you watched it, it didn't feel like it was that close of a game. Jaguars, what's going on? You had the opportunity, and we're gonna speak of teams blowing opportunities. You had an opportunity to really assert yourself as a force in the AFC. For you to go out there to lose to a Joe Flacco led team in the fashion that you did, and allow him to cook like he was cooking. I mean, like Joe Flacco was just on somebody's couch a couple of weeks ago. He is a Super Bowl winning quarterback, but he was on somebody's couch a couple of weeks ago. So you can't tell me Joe Flacco has mastered the playbook that much. This is, hey, when you're not able to get no pass rush, Jacksonville, your secondary gets exposed. Your secondary gets exposed. Secondary is not the strong suit of Jacksonville. It's not the strong suit of Jacksonville. Congratulations to Cleveland, who are still fighting. AFC is a completely different story in the AFC when we're talking about teams being in position for the playoffs. Because like I told you guys last week, it's going to be a 10-17 team that's got a winning record that's not going to make the playoffs in the AFC, and it is that competitive from the top. Um, it's going to be a mess. It is going to be a mess, and a beautiful mess, and I will be there to enjoy all of it. Speaking of a beautiful mess, Houston Texans, you let me down. Good thing I didn't bet no money on you guys. Good thing I did not bet no money on you guys. For you guys to go out there and lose to the Jets in the fashion of the Jets. Like I said, the Jets, for better or worse, the defense has played phenomenal. Top 10 defense in the league, despite the issues that the offense has had. Um, they will do for a game for the offense to get going, and the defense was playing lockdown. Now, granted, Texans fans, your quarterback ended up getting hurt. You was out without your top three receivers. You had some injuries along the offensive line. I get it. But for you to go out there and only be able to put up 6 points against a Jets, and granted, it's a great Jets defense, but to allow Zach Wilson to look like he might be starter material in this league, that was a bad loss for the Texans. Bad loss for the Texans, and they've been one of the surprise teams of the NFL season thus far. Question I have, going forward with the Texans, are they finna fade to black? Have they, has the good luck worn off with them? Has that new car smell gone away? I'm leaning towards the Texans not making, the playoffs. And it's crazy. A couple of weeks ago, we were having a discussion. They had an opportunity to, possibly be in the lead for the division, and it just not manifested. This team is kind of regressed over the last couple of weeks. Hopefully, CJ Stroud will be able to play next week, and we'll talk about that on Thursday when we do that show. But congratulations to the Jets for taking care of business. Defense is played phenomenal too. Too bad for them. If they was in the NFC, we might be talking about them having an outside chance to make the playoffs. But I think it's a wrap for them in the AFC. Best they can do is play spoiler for the rest of the season. And with that being said, I don't think you see Aaron Rodgers back out on the field. It'd be kind of pointless. It'd be kind of pointless to have him come back at this point of the season. So this chill out. Another game. And I was going, I watched this, and I told you guys there's something about when Buffalo and Kansas City get together. It's always a good football game, no matter what trends are going, how the teams are playing at that particular point of the season. It's always a good game, and the Bills held on thanks to mistakes by Kansas City, because Kansas City should have won. Let's keep it a buck. Kansas City should have won, but they didn't. But Buffalo is kind of gotten a grip on them on their season. They're playing some good football over the last couple of weeks, and beat a very good Chiefs team. The Chiefs team that let's keep it a thou wow, has lost the last two, and has I've been having that conversation about the Chiefs the same as I had with Philadelphia Eagles. These don't look like the same teams from last year. When we're talking about level of play, the level of execution, they don't look the same. And the Chiefs, I still think they win the division, but the Broncos are nipping at your heels. No, they're only a game back. They are only a game back, and the Broncos are one of those teams that are trending up. So, Kansas City, you got to get it together. I expect. I'm looking forward to the offseason. Just this little bit right here, but I expect the Chiefs to really invest in getting some talent on the offensive side of the ball, because when you have a quarterback, Patrick Mahomes, who's still having a very good year, outside of Travis Kelce and the rookie Rashee Rice, the rest of them guys can be moved. I mean, they can be replaced. And last season, it didn't look like that. Mahomes took a step back. The offense took a step back without no Tyreek Hill. But this season, you can tell when you don't have a true number one receiver outside of Kelce, and Kelce's a great tight end, but he don't stretch the field like that. When you don't have a number one receiver, it kind of holds your team back. When you look at all the top teams in the NFL, one thing they all have in common is they have a number one type receiver. Um, have a number one type receiver. When you're talking about CD Lamb, when you're talking about Debo Samuel, when you're talking about um, Tyreek Hill, when you're talking about Stephon Diggs, the top teams have a bona fide, number one receiver, and Kansas City don't have that, and they're kind of doing it with smoke and mirrors right now. This team has not looked good. Had opportunity to win, mental mistakes catch up to you. And, but they've been making mental mistakes all season long, especially that wide receiver corps. But some of the drop balls that they've had, you got to clean it up. Because Kansas City it's not going to be a cakewalk this year. It's not going to be a cakewalk this year. Speaking of it being a cakewalk, can anybody tell me? Well, first of all, did anybody watch Vikings and Raiders? Oh God, brutal. I mean, very. Oh, I mean, 3-0, 3-0, and I was afraid that neither one of them was going to score. It was that bad of a game. It's been reported that Joshua Dobbs is going to be benched for the next game. He had like a hot kind of a start, and he's showing you why he's a backup. At the end of the day, he's showing you why he's a backup. At the end of the day, I was afraid that neither team was going to score. I was afraid, and when I was looking at it, I ain't watched the whole game. I had to go back and catch the highlights on this. It was hard. It was a lot of bad football out there. It was a lot of bad football out there. I expect, especially the Raiders, I expect there to be some wholesale changes to that team next year, because it is hard to watch. It was that was an ugly game. Speaking of ugly games, Broncos over the Chargers. It's been reported that Justin Herbert is gone for the rest of the season, having surgery on his fractured index finger. Rest up, get well for next season. Trust me, you'll be playing for a new head coach next year, so don't worry. And the Broncos, like I was telling you guys earlier when I was talking about the Chiefs, Broncos are right back there in that conversation, not only for the division, but in the hunt for a playoff spot. I didn't think they was gonna make it. I didn't think they was gonna make it to this point of the season and actually be in a conversation, considering how they started off. But Russ has been cooking. Sean Payton is drawing up a brilliant game plan, and the defense is coming to play. Granted, you were playing against a Chargers team who just cannot seem to get out their own way. It's clear to everybody that watches them that the head coach is gone. Hell, if I'm ownership, I get rid of the head coach and offensive coordinator, Kellen Moore. They both need to go. Kellen Moore was brought in, was supposed to be quote unquote this quarterback whisperer, and he was going to take Justin Herbert to the next level. Yeah, it didn't happen. And this has been, I would have to say, you have to put the Chargers in that conversation for underachieving team this year. I thought they were going to be better than what they were, especially at this point of the season, but it is not manifested, and it's been hard to watch. It's been hard to watch Chargers football because you just know in the back of your mind, they'll play well for like a quarter, they'll play well for a half, but you're not going to get 48 minutes consistent. 60 minutes of consistent. I'm thinking about basketball. 60 minutes of consistent football from them. You're just not going to do it. They've shown you all season long that they can't do it. They can't do it. Speaking of can't do it, and Dolphins fans, what happened? You Dolphins fans out there, what happened? Dolphins, who were in a position to still be fighting for, and still are, fight for a number one seed, lose a bad. How do you blow a 14-point lead with 3 minutes to go? How do you blow a 14-point lead with 3 minutes to go? And I know argument was made, and I heard some of the pundits on these talk shows. Oh, Tyreek was hurt, and the team looks different without Tyreek. Yeah, they most teams would look different without a Tyreek Hill on there. But you mean to tell me You have a 14 point you have a 14-point lead, and you don't take care of business in 3 minutes. And it's not like Miami doesn't have a competent enough run game. You have Raheem Mostert, have a Hn back there. You mean to tell me that with 3 minutes you gave up 14 points? Bad. That's that is a bad loss, and it was a lot of bad losses. No more so than the Eagles, but it was a lot of bad losses, and that was one of them. To watch that kind of unfold, I kind of like turned away for a minute. I was like, oh, yes, they're up 14. It's a wrap. Um, Tennessee may be able to get a touchdown and that kind of stuff, but nah. Um, Miami just looks they look bad. They look bad last night. Of course, you have no Tyree. Tyreek ended up getting hurt, came back, got hurt. He's kind of like in and out of the lineup second half. Um, Jalen Waddle, that was an opportunity for you, prime time, to step up and assert yourself to possibly be a number one receiver in the future. Have you seen him? Jalen Waddle was on the milk carton last night. Will Levis, I think, has solidified himself going forward as the quarterback of the future for the Tennessee Titans. He's looked okay. He's looked okay. I wonder what the team would have looked like if he'd have been starting from the beginning of the season. But you can't. Woulda, coulda, shoulda. I deal with the what is, and it was rough. It was rough watching that. I was like, yeah, how you blew 14 like Miami, and that's one of those losses. Every team has those throughout the season, especially when they don't end up. All right, Miss Murphy, thank you for coming in. Cry Eagles, cry. Don't worry, the Eagles slander will continue on Thursday. The Eagles slander will continue on Thursday. But that's I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me kind of wrap this up. What are the games I missed? Bengals and Colts. Yeah, Bengals. Jake Browning is keeping Cincinnati in the conversation for a playoff spot. We'll see if he's able to kind of keep this level of play going forward. But I like what they're doing with him. Not putting too much on him. They was killing. I don't. The Colts defensive coordinator. How many times must the team hit you with a bubble screen for you to adjust how you playing defense? Like Cincinnati was bubble screening them dudes and slip screening them guys to death. Is it wasn't like Browning threw the ball. It wasn't like he was stretching the field. It was getting a lot of yards after catch, a lot of screens to the running back, a lot of bubble screens to the running back. Jamar Chase had a pretty good game. And the Colts, those when you're trying to be one of those teams to consider for a playoff position, and those the performance you put out there, that ain't gonna cut it. That ain't gonna cut it. I mean, Gardner Minshew, granted he is what he is, as limited as he is, he's only gonna take you so far. But that was a game. You should have came out there and tried to assert yourself as like, hey, we one of those teams. We one of those teams, and Cincinnati played like that. Like, hey, we one of those teams. Yeah, Burrow is hurt, but we are still one of those teams, and I'm curious to see how it kind of plays out for them. Buccaneers and Falcons. Oh, I mean, it was a good game. It was a good game. I don't believe I took. Did I take Desmond Ritter? I don't know. I don't think I did, but I may have. But there's only one team coming out of the NFC South, and I think whoever comes out of that division is a one and done. So I'm not gonna stress out too much about it. Falcons allow Baker Mayfield to get it going on that last minute drive and seal the game. I don't really blame the Falcons defense. They played a very good game defensively, but the Falcons just didn't take advantage of the opportunities. You had turnover by Ritter, Younghoe Koo, Pro Bowl kicker, misses 2 field goals. You just don't see that happen too often. I think the Falcons right now, based on what I've seen from that division, still, in my opinion, right now the favorite to win the division. But right now Buccaneers have it. But I think whoever comes out of that division, you're one and done. You're one and done. So enjoy this while you can. Enjoy this while you can. Saints Panthers. Saints won, beat a bad Panthers team who only got one win. I'm curious to see what Carolina. That's about the only thing I can say. What your offseason is going to look like, because you guys got to get some talent in there. You got to go out there and get some free agents, and you got to draft well and get some talent in there. I think I got everybody. Oh, last Thursday's game, I almost forgot. Steelers, bad loss. How do you lose to a Patriots team who's going nowhere? Who is going nowhere? And Trubisky, I mean, he is what he is. He's limited as a quarterback. But Steelers, this is not a game, especially when we're talking about the playoff picture. Let me kind of go over here and look at the standings real quick. When we're talking about, the AFC, when we're talking about the playoff picture in the AFC, of course, you got Baltimore right now holding on to the 1 seed. I mean, but you got Baltimore with 10 wins. Dolphins right behind them with a game. Chiefs 2 games behind them. Jaguars 2 games behind them. Like, it's a lot of teams in the AFC are above 500. I mean, you got, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. It's 11 teams right now playing over 500. In the AFC, and it's only 7 playoff spots. So, like I said, it's you can't be losing those kind of games. Pittsburgh, you can't be losing those kind of games. Colts, if you're trying to get into the playoffs, and it's going to be very competitive this year in the AFC, you got to bring your hard hat in. You got to be ready to play. Before I get up out of here, because I said I had a little time, but I didn't want to be kicking they back in all night long. But one more time for them Cowboys. Yes. And I can't wait. We're looking forward to the schedule for the week ahead. Let me do a little sneak peek. You got Chargers Raiders Thursday. Okay, cool. I'm good on that. Now look forward to next week's schedule. Let's see. Some of the intriguing matchups. Bears, Browns might be a good game to watch. Buccaneers, Packers, teams fighting for playoff position in the NFC. Okay. Cowboys, Bills right now, it's got to be game of the week, and we'll talk about them boys and the Bills because for whatever reason Buffalo has come in. Even though they're home, they've come in as 3.5 favorites over Dallas. I don't know how. But hey, I'm not the bookmaker. Then you got Eagles, Seahawks. We'll talk about them. Going up to Seattle. Does the skid continue? Does the skid continue? I believe I'll give you my pick on Thursday. We might be seeing this for 3 weeks in a row, Philly fans. Cry, Eagles, cry. All right, let me get my behind up out of here, man. Y'all know the phrase, play. Remember, always like, share, subscribe. Appreciate everybody for taking the time out to listen to little old me do my thing over here with my what they call me over there, no talented ass. But anyway, appreciate it. I'll be back on Thursday. We will be having a Freestyle Friday show over here. If you caught the Not a Sector show, we're going to continue a part of that show. We'll be doing more of a breakdown over here for the Freestyle Friday portion. I did find a longer clip that we played on that show, so we will be kind of reviewing that, breaking that down, and also some other news in regards to that situation. So, but yeah, we'll be doing that on Friday. And of course, I'll be over there doing my thuggism in the other space. For and we'll see what kind of mood I'm in. I may wake up and choose violence, but anyway, appreciate y'all coming out and listening. Need y'all for the phrase that pays over here. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, but every time you Eagles fans will learn. And I'm out.